Once upon a time, specifically 2,000 years ago, there was a person ready to burn down the elf forests and even commit the murder of a deity. Under this individual, the most brutal acts were deemed mundane, as all reasoning became meaningless to him. This person was none other than the tyrannical Demon King, the progenitor of the demon realm. According to intelligence agency reports published in the newspaper, 2,000 years later, which is the present day, the Demon King would reincarnate with a new identity. Moreover, he would participate in the Demon King Academy's entrance examination under that identity. Today, the entrance exam of the Demon King Academy is being organized to recruit talented students for the nation, and also to identify the individual with the reincarnated Demon King's bloodline, to inherit the throne that has been vacant for 2,000 years. People flocked to register for the exam more eagerly than attending a festival. A girl named Missa was also on her way to the academy when she accidentally got bumped into and dropped a letter. Before she could pick it up, a tall, handsome man gallantly picked it up for her. This man, named Anos, was also heading to the academy, so they ended up going together. Coincidentally, the parents of both, worried for their children, cheered enthusiastically. Initially, it was nothing serious, but suddenly a nosy kid decided to meddle. After witnessing the scene, he couldn't help but mock Anos, asking if he was a kindergartner for needing his parents to escort him. Not stopping there, this guy, overestimating his own strength, decided to teach Anos a lesson in front of a girl. However, before he could make a move, a flame that had just appeared at his fingertips was extinguished by Anos with a mere gentle blow, lighter than a feather. Anos then casually dismissed the flame as no more than a weak matchstick. Hearing these insulting words, the guy became furious and resolved to retaliate, determined to teach Anos a lesson this time. But Anos was already busy heading to the entrance exam and didn't have time to deal with him any longer. With just a flick of his hand, Anos instantly sealed the guy's mouth, leaving him unable to move. Unable to seek revenge, the guy could only helplessly stew in his anger as Anos confidently walked away. Inside, the entrance exam of the academy officially began. In the first round, the competitors had to fight one-on-one to determine the ultimate champion. It's unclear whether it was due to fate or sheer coincidence, but Anos's first opponent turned out to be Zed, the very same brash youth who had underestimated his own abilities earlier. Confident in his magic-resistant armor and flaming sword, Zed was determined to seek revenge this time. However, with a simple flick of his hand, Anos effortlessly extinguished the flame on the sword. To make the duel more interesting, and to give Zed a chance, Anos decided to stand still and not use magic in their fight. Initially, Zed remained disdainful, but at the same time, he was injured by an invisible strike. Zed couldn't understand why he was suddenly wounded. It turned out that just the continuous beating of Anos's heart was enough to emit a power so strong that it could severely injure Zed, preventing him from standing up. Following this, Zed was continuously tormented by Anos, yet he stubbornly refused to admit defeat. According to the rules, as long as the opponent didn't die or concede, the other couldn't be declared the winner. Seeing that Zed still refused to submit, Anos flicked his finger again, causing Zed to vanish momentarily. Before the audience could fully grasp what had happened, Anos had already recited a resurrection spell for the just deceased Zed. One might think that experiencing the agony of death and revival would enlighten Zed to concede, but he remained delusional and refused to surrender. Left with no other choice for dealing with such foolishness, Anos had to log Zed out several more times consecutively. Finally, Zed accepted defeat, utterly humiliated to the point of wanting to bury his head in shame. In the second part of the exam, everyone needed to measure their magic index at a crystal. While other students encountered no issues, the moment Anos placed his hand on it, the crystal was instantly vaporized. With her keen eyes, Missa realized that although Anos's magic index appeared to be 0, he harbored a tremendous source of magical power within his body. After completing the exams and receiving the results that Anos had passed, he invited Missa to come to his house as he knew his parents were preparing a celebration party, just waiting for him to bring home the good news. Missa initially intended to use a flying spell to get there quickly, but Anos instead took her home using a teleportation magic that had been lost for 2,000 years. Just like that, within a blink of an eye, they were at Anos's home. According to his mother, Anos had grown rapidly, appearing fully grown within less than a month of his birth. Not only was he able to excel in the Demon King Academy's entrance exam at just 1 month old, but now he was also bringing a wife home, much to his grandmother's delight. A child surpassing his father is a home's blessing, she quickly called her husband to share the joy. Seeing his son's youthful talents, his father beamed with pride. Thus, Misa and Anos's family enjoyed a meal together that resembled a daughter-in-law's introduction. After a hearty meal and plenty of drinks, Anos personally escorted Misa back home. Along the way, they shared everything under the sun and eventually shook hands, officially becoming friends. At that moment, a light surrounded them, and a wall constructed by architectural magic rose, signaling an impending fiery battle. Soon after, Zed's elder brother, Leo, emerged from the shadows, followed by his militia. Having witnessed his brother's humiliation that morning, Leo came to teach Anos a lesson, aiming to restore his family's honor, not just for his brother's sake. He even went as far as to kill Zed in front of Anos to assert dominance, stating that the Anzu family did not need a failure who had disgraced them before thousands. In the current world, those not of direct Demon King lineage were considered mixed blood, inherently inferior to those of pure blood carrying the Demon King's original lineage. Currently, Anos being seen as a mixed origin individual daring to defeat Zed, a descendant of the Demon King, infuriated Leo, who wanted to act as the executor of divine retribution. However, Leo was unaware that Anos was actually the ancestor he deeply respected. Hearing Anos's words, Leo was enraged, believing Anos was insulting his ancestor. He immediately ordered his troops to prepare for battle. However, the secret techniques and magic that Leo deployed were all creations of light that Anos himself had devised. Therefore, breaking them was as easy for Anos as eating candy. To broaden Leo's perspective, Anos turned Zed's corpse into a real zombie as a gift for him. Now, in his undead form and fueled by resentment, Zed's power increased significantly. Leo thought Anos would let Zed attack him, but Anos wasn't interested in such cruel games. Instead, Anos wanted Leo to reform his brother, and then have the two brothers join forces to fight against him. Seeing the true power of Zed as a zombie, Leo, although startled, still refused to admit that his brother had disgraced their family. It was only when he saw Zed advancing towards him like a demon from hell that he became fearful and tried to calm Zed down. However, it was too late for regrets. In a moment, both brothers ended up going down together. Faced with the sight of his descendants turning against each other, Anos was quite disappointed to see how heartless and cruel they had become. With a wave of his hand, Anos caused the surrounding walls to collapse and used a resurrection spell to save the lives of the Anzu brothers. Witnessing a monster with extraordinary power like Anos, the brothers dared not utter another word. They could only ask who he truly was. Anos had long awaited someone to ask him this question. Leaning forward to ensure they heard him clearly, he revealed, "You are blind to the obvious, for I am your ancestor." The tyrannical Demon King Anos returned and more formidable than before. 2,000 years ago, when heroes sought to kill Anos to restore peace to humanity, Anos argued that if he were to kill humans, wouldn't the heroes themselves have slain countless demons as well? Furthermore, even if all demons were eradicated, humans would still face other enemies, such as spirits and gods. Therefore, to end the conflicts between the demonic realm, the divine, and humanity, Anos proposed that the heroes join forces with him to create walls separating the races, extinguishing the flames of war and restoring peace to the world. However, their sacrifice would not be permanent. Instead, they would be reborn in 2,000 years with their memories intact. Finding Anos's words logical and persuasive, the heroes decided to trust and join forces with the Demon King. As Anos created the magic to form the walls, Kenon quickly used his holy sword to stab through Anos, embracing oblivion together. Their sacrifice would temporarily prevent humanity from engaging in pointless wars for 2,000 years. Before completely vanishing, Anos and Kenon expressed their gratitude. Anos hoped that upon their rebirth, they could be friends, as Kenon was the only hero the ruthless Demon King respected. As planned, 2,000 years later, the saint was reincarnated. Upon opening his eyes, he saw his grandparents overjoyed as they had just given birth to their first son. Before they could even name their son, the saint immediately named himself, leaving his grandparents utterly astonished. Returning to 2,000 years later, on the opening day of school, Misa informed him that he was considered an outcast for mispronouncing the name of the ruthless Demon King. Anos cleverly used magic to read Misa's thoughts and discovered that his grand name had been mistakenly altered to Avos over the 2,000 years, sounding completely out of place. It was an oversight to claim descent from the real lineage of the Demon King. Yet even the name of their ancestor was mispronounced. Moreover, during a class where the teacher was assigning group leaders for an upcoming exam, Anos volunteered to be a group leader but was immediately rejected by the teacher. In this scenario, students wearing white uniforms were always treated unfairly as mixed bloods, while those in red uniforms were considered pure bloods and treated justly. According to the discriminatory views of that teacher, she insisted that a mixed blood like Onos was not qualified to be a group leader, so she excluded him. Onos then proposed a pact to her. If he could prove himself superior to the pure bloods, she would have to accept him as the group leader. Conversely, if he lost, he would willingly leave the academy. With just a few basic adjustments, Onos successfully doubled the power of the combat magic circle that teachers had always been proud of. Although reluctant, the pact was made and the teacher had no choice but to agree to appoint him as the group leader. After the group leaders were chosen, the teacher called each one to stand up and introduce themselves. The group leader of the red team confidently introduced herself as Sasha Necron, a descendant of the Demon King and twin sister of Misei. However, although they were from a noble lineage, only Sasha was considered pure-blooded while Misa was deemed mixed blood. When it came to choosing teams, most students gravitated towards Sasha, with only Misa staying in Onos's team. But quality over quantity. Despite having only 2 members, Onos was confident enough to outperform the rest. Inherently arrogant, Sasha could not stay put and came over to taunt Onos, claiming Misa was just a mobile doll who couldn't contribute anything to him. And if he was wise, he would join her team for a better collaboration. Onos, not tolerating such disrespect, retorted to defend Misei, leaving Sasha frustrated but unable to respond. Sasha attempted to activate her destructive demon eye to teach Onos a lesson, but he immediately activated a more powerful demon eye that overwhelmed hers significantly. Seeing the power emitted from Onos's demon eye made her acknowledge her place and, furious and defeated, she turned away. Just when it seemed everything had calmed down, Sasha, more persistent than a hungry leech, blocked their path on the way out and issued another challenge. If Sasha won during the team exam, Onos would have to join her team and obey her unconditionally. In return, if she lost, she would willingly become a slave in Onos's team. Onos, never one to shy away from such challenges, promptly agreed to the pact. The day of the inter-team exam arrived. Both teams needed to construct fortresses and use magic circles to protect their own. Knowing that Misa was adept at construction magic, Onos didn't hesitate to delegate the building of the fortress to her, while he took care of the rest. On the other side, Misa and her teammates were also preparing to attack as they began constructing their fortress. However, just as they finished laying the foundation, Onos teleported in front of them, stunning everyone. Onos further unnerved the opposing team by claiming he could hear their entire strategy unfolding, causing them to panic. To reassure her team, Sasha insisted that despite Onos's skills, he couldn't possibly fight alone effectively. Despite this, Onos quickly disproved her assertion by effortlessly lifting their entire fortress single-handedly, adding a twist by literally flipping it to make things more interesting. He then kicked the entire structure several meters away. Unwilling to concede defeat, Sasha commanded her team to prepare their cannons for a counterattack. However, with just a small spark in his hand, Onos was more than capable of annihilating their million-dollar artillery setup, and his fireball continued straight towards Team Sasha, rendering their fortress irrecoverable. The outcome was now clearer than daylight, and Sasha was incredibly frustrated by her humiliating defeat, especially after hearing Onos declare that he had only used the lowest level of magic against them, which infuriated her even more. Despite her reluctance, Sasha had no choice but to accept her fate as Onos's servant. Seeing her sister wounded, Misa quickly approached Sasha with concern. Sasha no longer displayed her previous disdain towards her sister, and it seemed their sibling relationship was beginning to improve. That evening, when Onos brought another wife home, his parents were overjoyed as if they had struck gold. The prospect of managing 2 wives was something his father wouldn't even dare to consider if he had the money. After dinner, Onos personally escorted the 2 sisters home. Along the way, seeing them holding hands intimately, Onos was curious, to which Misa only smiled and promised to tell him the story later before running into the house. Left alone with Onos, Sasha called him back to express her gratitude. She thanked him for accepting her and her team, which helped the sisters reconcile. In a gesture of thanks, Sasha gave Onos a meaningful kiss, symbolizing camaraderie, which took him by surprise. Tomorrow is Sasha's sister's birthday, and Misa is considering consulting Onos about what would be an appropriate gift for her. However, Onos understands that Sasha would be completely enamored with whatever she is given. As they were discussing, Sasha suddenly sits next to Onos, and according to their agreement, She officially joins his faction from that moment. In class, the teacher announces that there will be a lecture from Ivik, one of the 7 demon elders, who are immensely powerful. Anos remembers the demon elders well, as he created them using his own blood 2,000 years ago to serve as his faithful aides. Sasha reveals that after Anos' sacrifice, the demon elders continued to exist and founded this academy to nurture talented individuals to succeed the position of Demon King. Anos feels extremely suspicious, questioning why the demon elders would manage the academy so loosely if they truly established it. Especially, they should have sensed their master's return by now, yet there has been no sign of them. Fearing that Anos might cause trouble during this important class, the teacher reminds him to know his place and not to cause any disturbances as usual. However, Anos dismisses her words as if they were mere wind passing by his ears. As Ivik enters and stands up, extending his 5 fingers, both the teacher and the students are shocked. Ignoring the meaningful looks from everyone around him, Anos asks Ivik if he recognizes who he is. Unfortunately, this demon elder's memory had been wiped clean 2,000 years ago, so he has no recognition of Anos. Knowing that the situation cannot be rushed, Anos tells the teacher to start the lesson and that he will discuss other matters with Ivik later. The teacher, witnessing his actions, hastily apologizes to the demon elder and even promises to expel Anos from the academy immediately. Surprisingly, Ivik does not hold Anos accountable but continues the lecture. After class, they have a private negotiation, and according to Ivik, he currently only remembers his master as Avos. It seems that this Avos truly exists, and he was the one who erased the demon elder's memories and spread falsehoods about the demon king in a plot to completely take over the spotlight. Currently, Anos admits that he is the tyrannical demon king, but is unable to prove his identity. Therefore, both he and Ivik still need to investigate this matter further. Today, the group has a dungeon challenge where the red and white teams must enter a labyrinth in the Demon King's castle to find various treasures. The team that retrieves more valuable items will, of course, be the winner and also get to keep an item of their choice. As the competition starts, everyone rushes into the maze, except Anos, who remains calm and composed. Seeing Sasha worried, Anos quietly asks if just obtaining the scepter from the dungeon would effectively defeat the collection of numerous other items. Sasha nods in agreement, but she notes that the dungeon is not an easy place to enter, as even the teachers at the academy have not been able to reach it. Anos, knowing every twist and turn of his own maze, confidently leads the way to the dungeon without encountering any monsters. They effortlessly reach the dungeon's deepest layer and retrieve the scepter. Upon seeing the scepter, Sasha immediately shows her usual utterly enchanted demeanor. Anos and Misei, uninterested in the scepter, enter a room shimmering with golden light emanating from various treasures. Anos allows Misa to pick any item as a gift for Sasha and also offers to give her a treasure as he knows tomorrow is her birthday. However, Misa chooses not to take anything for herself and selects a phoenix fire cloak for Sasha, who immediately falls in love with it and promises to take good care of it. While Sasha temporarily leaves to try on the cloak in another room, Misa thanks Anos for helping her give such a perfect gift to Sasha. But when Anos returns to the changing room, he finds Misa lying motionless with a deeply embedded knife in her chest. At this moment, Sasha reveals her true colors, admitting that all her actions were deceitful. She was just exploiting the feelings of Misa and Anos to win the challenge and get the scepter. Now, with Misa seriously injured and needing immediate medical attention, Sasha urges Anos to save her, warning that otherwise, he might end up collecting the remains of his teammate. Having said this, Sasha quickly breaks their agreement and attempts to escape. However, Anos anticipates her move, swiftly catches her by the leg, and pulls her back. At the same time, Sasha came out from the room unscathed, not a scratch on her. Anos had been suspicious of her intentions from the moment he saw the excitement in her eyes when she was given the cloak. When he found Misa motionless earlier, he had already healed her. What transpired was merely an illusion he created, a reminder not to forget that he is the progenitor Demon King, and such petty tricks are no match for him. Despite being treated like dirt by her sister repeatedly, Misa held no grudges and persistently pleaded with Anos to spare Sasha. Initially, Anos intended to interrogate Sasha to uncover her true motives throughout the act, but moved by Misei's heartfelt pleas, he decided to show mercy this time. Sasha was released but continued to harshly insult Misa and then ran away with the scepter without looking back. She must be feeling ashamed now, confronted with her sister's forgiving nature. Yet due to her stubborn character, She refuses to admit her wrongdoings. Left alone with Anos, Misa decided to share with him the reason why she consistently pleaded for her cruel sister. This was her own secret, but trusting Anos as a friend who had shown unbounded loyalty, she chose to reveal it to him. She disclosed that on her birthday, which is tomorrow, she would completely disappear from the world because, from the beginning, Misa never truly existed. From the moment she was born, Misa was separated from Sasha's soul by Ivik using a fusion spell. It seems he wanted to use the essence of both to create one of the most powerful demons ever. Fate had determined that Sasha was to stay, while Misa was meant to vanish. Over the last 15 years, she always wanted to create beautiful memories for herself. However, being considered non-existent, no demon would talk to her. Only he was willing to talk and agreed to be her friend. She was truly grateful and cherished this friendship. Hearing her acceptance and resignation to her fate made Anos feel bitter. He suddenly hugged her tightly. To make up to Misa, he promised to fulfill one more of her wishes. For Misa, she just hoped to reconcile with her sister Sasha before disappearing. They immediately chased after Sasha, who was on her way out of the castle. Standing face to face with her occasionally hot and cold sister, Misa wanted to know the truth if her sister really hated her as she outwardly claimed. Sasha did not immediately address Misa's issue, with her careless nature demanding to make a small pact, continuing to want to bet with Anos. All he needed to do was activate one of the 2 magic circles she had created, and the victory would surely be his. After a few dramatic dance performances, 2 magic circles were created. Sasha told him that activating just 1 circle would be enough. Seeing the situation unfold, Anos immediately understood there was no real bet here. Sasha had intended to give him this victory from the start. Anos stepped forward and gently activated the magic with a spell, and Sasha could not contain her joy. It was time to answer Misa's question if she truly hated her. Standing together in the magic circle, Sasha was finally able to face the truth in her heart. In fact, she had always been harsh in speech but cherished her little sister deeply. Born with a destructive demon eye, when no one dared to face her, only Misa was unafraid, always smiling and staying by her side. It was thanks to Misa that she could go outside, but being non-existent meant Misa was always lonely. Even her family prevented her from playing with her sister. Unwilling to accept her sister's disappearance, Sasha always worked hard to learn magic to find a solution to this problem. After years of struggle, Sasha finally found a way and decided to give her remaining life to her sister. The Origin Fusion Circle would enable her to do this. However, the only way to activate it was for Misa to renounce her sister. This was also why Sasha had always tried every possible way to make Misa hate her. With her magical power, activating the 2 Jessie and Black circles was impossible. Now that Anos had helped her activate Jessie, she needed to start the spell immediately. Sasha continued to harshly turn her back on Misa, hurling words of hatred to ensure Misa truly despised her. However, when the spell began, it was quickly nullified as Misa still did not renounce Sasha. Misa did not understand why Sasha had to lie, but she would forever regard her as a wonderful sister. The plan completely failed and Sasha cried out, begging Anos to save her righteous sister. Faced with the choice between the 2, Anos coolly declared that he would save both sisters. His plan was named Reverse Time, Defy Fate. By taking both back to the moment 15 years ago, merging their current origin with the origin at birth, something unknown would happen with the 4 origins, surely creating 2 distinct entities. This meant that neither would have to face the fate of disappearance as they currently did. However, as Sasha knew, only the Demon King ancestor could perform this Defy Fate. Just as Anos was about to initiate the spell, Ivik unexpectedly thrust a sword through his chest. Indeed, he was there to prevent Anos from saving the sisters, wanting to use the body when the 2 merged as a vessel for the resurrection of the ancestor Avos. It seems that Ivik is now completely controlled by a void. However, Anos didn't have time to spar with him. With such a crude sword trying to defeat him, Ivik seemed to underestimate the ancestor too much. With those words, Anos struck him flying several meters away, and as time was running out, Anos began to initiate the spell to take the 2 girls back to the past. However, halfway there, they were stopped by the Time God, as tampering with time violated the laws of the Divine Realm. To prevent Anos from executing his plan, the Time God allowed Ivik to borrow his power, intending to use Ivik to kill Anos. Arrogant with the power of the Time God, Ivik confidently believed he had the ability to kill Anos. Ivik continuously attacked the barrier Anos had created, and when the barrier broke, Ivik stabbed straight into Anos's heart. Thinking the stab was fatal, Ivik revealed a victorious grin. But before he could enjoy his triumph, Anos unexpectedly appeared from behind, shocking Ivik, as Anos's origin was not so easily destroyed. Undeterred, Ivik chanted a spell that stopped time. Since they were fighting in the Demon King's castle, Anos easily summoned his demonic sword. With the demonic sword in hand, Anos, like a kite catching the wind, decisively forced Ivik to log out of the game with a decisive slash. Thanks to this logout, the Ivik of the past returned. It seems the origin of Ivik had been merged with Avos's minion's origin. Now that Avos's merged origin in Ivik had vanished, the former subordinate Ivik also returned to serve Anos as before. It is likely that when Avos manipulated Ivik, the other 6 demon elders were also controlled. Anos ordered Ivik to discreetly investigate any issues with the remaining 6 demon elders and let him handle it. In the past, Misa and Sasha also successfully merged their origin. Thanks to the intervention of the ancestor, the sisters resolved their conflict and neither had to sacrifice. Even more fortunately, they are now separated into 2 independent individuals no longer dependent on each other. And both are extremely grateful to Anos. Having resolved everything, all 3 quickly took up their staff and claimed the maximum points. Upon reaching the surface, it coincided with the dawn of a new day. Anos turned to wish the 2 beautiful sisters a happy birthday, urging them to grow up quickly. While Sasha had already received her birthday gift, Misa had not. Although she did not want anything while in the castle, Anos felt that the lotus leaf ice ring was very suitable for her. Misa sincerely thanked Anos for the precious birthday gift after everything that had transpired, grateful that because of him, she and her sister could now smile happily together. 2,000 years ago, in a forest, a battle had taken place between the demon race and the Great Spirits. At that time, Anos's top subordinate, with his supreme swordsmanship skills, easily subdued the Great Spirit, proving himself to be an invaluable right-hand man who never disappointed. Anos asked Shin if he wanted anything as a reward, promising to fulfill his wish. Shin asked to be allowed to reincarnate, despite not having enough origin to retain his memories and the possibility of having to relearn swordsmanship from scratch. He insisted on being reincarnated alongside Anos, unable to bear living in a world without the Demon King. Ultimately, given Shin's determination, Anos agreed to his request. Back to the present, as soon as the teacher entered the classroom, she announced 2 pieces of news, neither of which was good. The first was that a new student would soon be transferring to their class. While it was not a big deal, the teacher added that they should behave respectfully as the new student belonged to the royal family and possessed the city's top swordsmanship skills. The second matter was worse. The teacher announced that the scepter had been stolen before it could be appraised. Therefore, she decided to temporarily award the group 70% of the maximum points until the scepter was recovered. Hearing this, Sasha became visibly upset, arguing that it was unfair for their group to lose points due to the school's negligence in guarding the scepter. On the other side, another girl also stood up to demand justice for their group. However, the teacher remained firm, and some ignorant individuals started taunting, suggesting that Sasha's group might have stolen the scepter to cover up for a counterfeit. Unfazed by the false accusations, Anos calmly walked over to the taunting boy and pulled out the scepter from him, knowing full well the truth and waiting to see how long they would continue their slanderous acts. After class, the girl named Milan rushed to find him, introducing herself as a member of the Unification Party. The Unification Party, led by the demon elder Bolin, upheld the principle of no discrimination, treating both purebloods and mixed bloods equally. They particularly believed that he was the tyrannical ancestral demon king. Shortly after, Milan invited the group to visit the Unification Party's headquarters, a place also popular among Anos's staunch female fans. Just sharing the same air with him was enough to delight the girls. Aside from their undying admiration for Anos, everyone there worked enthusiastically, believing that with effort, purebloods and mixed bloods could eventually become friends and progress together. The next day, they had a session with the demon elder, who challenged them to pull swords that were buried underground. The first 2 to succeed would earn slots in a swordsmanship course taught by the elder himself. Everyone struggled with the task, even Sasha, who found the swords drained all her magical power the harder she tried to pull. At this point, Anos teased her a bit and was challenged by Sasha to try pulling the swords himself. Anos revealed that the only sword he couldn't pull was that of the hero Kinnon. Otherwise, he could easily extract these mere scraps of iron. Simultaneously, another student managed to pull another sword. Not stopping there, when the demon elder tried to test his strength, he was knocked unconscious by the student. The real demon elder then left it to Onos to deal the final blow, and after they executed their moves, the two elders exchanged fiery glances. The standout student who had just arrived was the new student known for his rare and perfect swordsmanship. Unexpectedly, Ray bluntly refused the teacher's offer to become the group leader. Instead, he insisted on joining Onos's team. However, Onos made it clear that joining his team wasn't easy. He set a condition that if Ray could win in the upcoming group competition, he would definitely secure a spot on his team. During the intergroup competition, Ray, along with Milan and the girls from the Unification Party, fought against 3 members of Onos's team. Seeing Ray's gentle demeanor and respect for mixed bloods, the girls from the Unification Party were instantly enamored with him. As usual, Misa took on the task of constructing the castle, while Sasha attacked and Onos went to duel Ray. To assist the girls from the Unification Party, Ray lent them his magic sword and magic. In the spirit of fairness, Onos also promised not to use magic and to fight Ray with just a dry stick. Boosted by Ray's power, the girls' morale surged, and they even managed to control the fortress to attack where Sasha and her sister were. At a critical moment, following Onos's suggestion, the sisters united and successfully destroyed the fortress. Unfortunately, Milan attempted a surprise attack from behind, but Sasha, quick on her feet, managed to dodge the unexpected strike. At the same time, Ray was hit by Onos's blow. After the initial exchange, Onos noted that Ray's swordsmanship was not only good but also felt eerily familiar to him. Back on the battlefield among the girls, seeing Sasha in a difficult position, Misa immediately rushed to support her. Without hesitation, they combined the Phoenix Cloak and the Lotus Leaf Ice Ring to maximize their power. Thanks to their fiery and icy combination, they delivered a critical blow to the girls from the Unification Party, simultaneously shattering their fortress and securing a proud victory. In the duel, Ray's swordsmanship proved to be extraordinary. However, as fate would have it, the supporting character couldn't outshine the main character. Despite his strength, Ray couldn't overcome Onos. With a dangerously fast and powerful move, Onos knocked Ray's sword out of his hands with the branch he was wielding. Ray willingly and wholeheartedly accepted his defeat. Ray admitted that dueling with Onos gave him a sense of déjà vu, as if they had met 2,000 years ago. Onos agreed, noting Ray's resemblance to someone he knew from the past. Ray extended his hand to help Onos up, and although he lost and couldn't join Onos's team, both were very willing to be friends. To foster closer relationships, after a meal, Onos invited Ray and Milan over for dinner at his place. As always, his parents were very hospitable, so the meal was enjoyable and harmonious. Seeing Milan's effort in today's battle, Onos agreed to let her and the other girls in the party join his team. After eating, Milan and Ray went outside to breathe some fresh air and confide in each other. Like before, Ray's gentle tone and his impartial attitude towards the mixed-blood individuals made Milan increasingly infatuated with him. The Magic Sword tournament was about to start, and Emily announced that Ray had secured a slot in the tournament. This time, Onos was also given a slot like Ray, but he felt suspicious about this event. The royal family usually did not favor him winning, so why would they want him to participate this time? Onos suspected that they were plotting something sinister to trap him. At the same time, Milan came over to inform him that the old demon Bolin, who was also the head of the unified party, wanted to meet him. Upon seeing Onos, the true demon king, Bolin could not hold back his emotions and, with tears streaming down his face, knelt and bowed to Onos. After 2,000 years apart, he was finally reunited with his demon king. Bolin apologized for his late reception, as he had been attacked by someone who erased his memories of the tyrannical demon king. 2,000 years ago, when the tyrannical demon king sacrificed himself to save humanity, Bolin awoke only to find himself lost in the Great Spirit Forest, and to regain enough magical power, Bolin chose to stay and cultivate in the Great Spirit Forest for 1,000 years. When he returned to the demon world, he discovered that the name of the tyrannical demon king had been changed to Avos unknowingly. Regarding the Magic Sword tournament, Bolin advised him not to participate because of the royal family. It was indeed a conspiracy to overthrow him. As long as he did not participate, the name Avos might appear in this match. Onos agreed that he would consider Bolin's advice and then quickly went home to eat the meal his mother had prepared. When he arrived home, Misa was showing off her cooking skills with dishes he liked, and during the meal, his mother even revealed that a teacher had just come over to inform about his slot in the Magic Sword tournament. It seemed that they were forcing him to participate by making such announcements everywhere. Although Anos did not really want to participate, seeing his mother's excited and expectant face, he found it hard to refuse, especially after seeing the delicious dishes that Misa had taken the effort to cook for him. Anos wanted to reciprocate with something for her. He suggested that she could ask for anything she desired, and he would fulfill it. After some thought, Misa did not want anything material. Instead, she wanted to go for a walk around the city with him the next day. Since he was free the next day, he promptly agreed to the plan with Misa. Thus, their date proceeded as planned. They visited a magic model shop that Misa frequented. Being a VIP customer there, the shop owner greeted Misa warmly, inviting her to make herself at home as usual. She led him to a room for making models, where she used magic to create a cozy family dining scene with all the members present. Knowing she liked such meaningful little things, Anos created a miniature model of the entire city, which was quite eye-catching. True to form, Misa was thrilled upon seeing it. Whenever she was off guard, she would take the model out to admire it, and he helped her attach it to a ring. Misa thanked Anos for this precious gift and promised to treasure it carefully. Later, he took her to a cat cafe for a change of scenery. Officially, they were there to drink bubble tea, but actually, it was where he had arranged to meet Ivik to hear the intelligence he had gathered. According to Ivik's investigation, the unified party was not led by Bolan but by someone else. Moreover, Bolan was quite suspicious, as it was too easy for him to escape Avos's brainwashing. There was another person currently hiding in a hospital established by Emily's father, but it seemed he was just a puppet manipulated by someone else. Anos asked Ivik to further investigate Bolan and the magic sword tournament, while he would take care of the magical hospital himself. After that, he and Misa went to the magical hospital to investigate further, but it seemed there was nothing alarming about the hospital. However, a more concerning issue was seeing Ray there visiting his sick mother. Ray's attitude was very unusual when Anos mentioned the magic sword tournament. He even declined the offer to cure his aunt's illness. On the day of the magic sword tournament, just before it started, Ivik came to inform that Bolan might be involved with two old demons whose minds were being controlled by Avos. As for Ray's mother, she was currently suffering from a spirit disease and was in the hospital for treatment. In the first match of the tournament, Anos needed to face off against last year's champion. Initially, Anos had no intention of revealing himself, but faced with the enthusiastic and proud cheers of his mother in the audience, along with the sweat and effort his father had put into preparing the demon sword for him throughout this period, he did not want to disappoint his parents, siblings, and friends. Carrying the demon sword forged by his father, Anos boldly stepped onto the stage, filled with confidence, ready to face his opponent. At the venue, the champion from the previous season was still earnestly attacking Anos. With his meager shrimp-like abilities, he obviously couldn't touch a single hair on Anos. Moreover, above, his parents and the girls from the unified party were cheering loudly. Anos effortlessly defeated him in under a minute. Despite facing such humiliating defeat, he still couldn't believe his failure. Anos clearly stated that he might disdain him for being inferior, but he should never underestimate the sword made with the heart and soul of his father, a blacksmith. Hearing this, his father, sitting in the stands, was moved to tears. The next match, as expected, was easily won by Lay. However, everyone was shocked when they heard the announcement that Ray was representing the royal faction in the battle. After the battle, Ray calmly met Anos and openly acknowledged the royal family's promise to him, stating they would grant him a vast amount of money if he joined the army under a nominal guise. Ray even denied his relationship with his friends, expressing regret over forming bonds with them. More bitterly, Ray himself declared that he would personally kill Anos in this tournament. After saying this, Ray drew his sword and struck at Anos' hand, while Anos also made a move to crush Lay's heart. However, at that moment, the two were merely testing each other's strength, as their real battle would take place in the upcoming finals. From that strike, Anos discovered that Ray's body was bound by a demonic sword, likely a contract implanted in Ray's heart by the royal family to bind him. This contract could destroy Ray's essence if any conditions were violated. Probably for this reason, Ray had not sought Anos' help. Following that, Anos and Ray both won their battles and advanced straight to the finals. As Anos had to attend to some matters, he entrusted the demonic sword to his mother to take home, escorted by the girls from the unified party. He took Milan to visit Lay's mother in the hospital, who, like Milan, was half human, half spirit. According to Ray's mother upon waking up, she revealed that the royal family had used her to coerce Ray into joining their side. Knowing that Ray endured and bore it for her sake, She pleaded with Anos to help Rei escape these shackles. At present, saving Rei's mother would also mean helping him. According to what she knows about the spirit disease, the legends about spirits need to be widely spread to completely eradicate this disease. Although Rei's mother cannot recall the key phrase about the spirit legend, it seems she is currently showing signs of good progress. It appears that the legend about spirits has not completely disappeared. First, it's necessary to maintain Rei's mother's life until the end of the match. As a fellow spirit, Anos asks Milan to transfer energy to Rei's mother, and afterwards, he will help her balance the energy that was lost. Having said this, Anos created a formation for Milan to treat her. At that time, Anos's mother and the girls escorting the sword were very happy. Suddenly, Emily appeared and lied to the organizers that they needed to retrieve the sword from the members in the finals. But there was no such rule from the beginning. The mother saw right through her trap to take Anos's demonic sword. Seeing that the mother adamantly refused to hand over the sword, Emily immediately turned hostile and launched a lightning strike to seize the sword. She was furious that her brother, the champion swordsman of last year's tournament, was so easily humiliated by Anos. Emily's belief that mixed bloods are always inferior, and that Anos's humiliation of her royal brother was unacceptable. Lacking the power to win, she resorted to despicable tricks to steal the pureblood sword. They were no good either. Struck by a guilty conscience, Emily became even more desperate and, in a fit of shame-turned-anger, she fiercely used magic to attack our side. Although the girls tried their best to defend Anos's mother, Emily's power was too great compared to them. The girls were knocked down on the spot, and refusing to submit, they used their last bit of strength to rise and sing a song praising the tyrant demon Lord Anos. They also believed that one day, good will triumph over evil, and there would be no discrimination between purebloods and mixed bloods, only equality. Hearing these words, Emily, who always despised mixed bloods, felt an intense irritation, and she put all her strength into a final attack that completely knocked down our girls after a brave fight. When she intended to silence Anos's mother forever, suddenly a stream of magic appeared simultaneously breaking her lightning. Then Anos boldly appeared, shut her up first, followed by using magic to heal the mother, and then used magic to resurrect the girls of the unified party. Water from the river does not violate the water of the well, but she persistently wanted to cause trouble. So don't blame me for being cruel, as I've been patient with her for a long time. I took her to the fencing arena of the academy. Without any hesitation, I immediately plunged a fatal knife into her. Now, she has only 1 minute to live unless she admits that I am indeed the demon lord. Having not seen the coffin, she has not shed tears yet. Initially, she stubbornly refused to beg for mercy. Only when the sword stabbed deeper did she become terrified and desperately pleaded for Anos to spare her life. But it was too late. There is no second chance. Anos resolutely sent her to meet the king of hell. However, right after that, Anos resurrected her at an altar's speed, killing, and then reviving her to prove that her life forever lies in the hands of a mixed blood like him, which for her is the bitterest humiliation. Moreover, only mixed bloods can be resurrected. The fact that she could die and live again proves that the blood flowing in her is of mixed heritage. For someone who has deeply ingrained notions of discrimination like her, this is an humiliation worse than death. Emily thought about ending her life again, but Anos cast a spell on her. No matter what she does, the wounds on her body will heal themselves. For Anos, letting her live as a mixed blood for the rest of her life is the most fitting punishment, a pain far greater than death itself. While Milan was treating in the room, Rei just happened to come by. Misunderstanding that Milan intended to harm his mother, Rei immediately held a knife to her throat. But when he realized Milan's good intentions, he was very grateful. However, not wanting her to deplete more magic, Rei straightforwardly knocked her out. The mother knew all that Rei had to endure, so she hoped he would save himself, to do what he wants, following his heart's guidance. Yet, how could Rei heartlessly abandon his mother? Perhaps the battle to the death with Anos in the final is inevitable. During the final match, Rei and Anos were given bracelets at the onset of their duel. If Anos fought with all his might, the bracelet would drain his magical power, while a victory would activate a spell within it that would kill him. This plan perfectly forced him to willingly lose the match. However, they miscalculated one step as Rei, not wanting to put Anos in a difficult position, broke his covenant with the demon sword. Although this action could cost him his life, Rei had no regrets. His mother encouraged him to follow his heart, and he realized she was right. At that moment, Rei wanted no more constraints. Freed from this threat, The only thing Ray looked forward to was giving his all in the battle with Anos, who was thoroughly pleased with Ray's resolve. Without hesitation, both plunged into the battle with blinding speed, making it nearly impossible for the spectators to see their sword paths. The duel was intensely competitive, with each sword strike dangerously fast. In the final blow, Ray successfully severed one of Anos's arms, but in return, he was stabbed in the heart by Anos's sword. Immediately after the match, Anos was taken by Bolin to an entirely new dimension. Bolin was the one who had implanted the Demon Sword's covenant in Ray, seizing the opportunity when the bracelet drained Anos's magical power. With his arm yet to heal and without Ray's assistance, Bolin sought to eliminate him. Moreover, Bolin summoned 2 more great demons to his aid, confident of his victory. However, not letting Bolin enjoy his triumph for more than 30 seconds, Anos launched a surprise attack that instantly reincarnated the newly arrived demons. At that moment, Ray appeared behind Anos. The recent strike by Anos was not meant to be lethal, but to help Ray break the Demon Sword's covenant within him. Faced with a 2-on-1 situation and knowing he was at a disadvantage, Bolin resorted to using Ray's mother as leverage. However, prepared for any loss due to his mother's sacrifice, Ray attacked, throwing his sword at Bolin. Distracted, Bolin was caught off guard as Ray rushed to the dimension holding his mother, intending to rescue her. However, as soon as Ray entered, Bolin locked it down. It turned out Bolin's real intention was to lure Ray into another dimension, leaving Anos to fight alone. Bolin launched a stream of dark smoke towards Anos, but it couldn't penetrate the strong barrier Anos had created. Anos immediately summoned his severed arm back and attacked Bolin. However, Bolin quickly retreated into another dimension, accessible only to him, forcing Anos to ask Ray for help. Anos planned to use Ray's swordsmanship for this plan, channeling all his magic into Ray's sword to enhance his strength against Bolin. Despite the added magical support from Anos and Ray's superb sword skills, they still couldn't break through Bolin's barrier. Just when the situation seemed irredeemable, Ray's mother awoke. To aid her son, she volunteered her spirit's power, transforming into a sword imbued with the force of maternal love. Encouraged by his mother, Ray charged forward and shattered the smoke enveloping Bolin. Capitalizing on the momentum, Ray shattered the dimensional door, causing Bolin to panic visibly. After the spirit sword completed its task, Ray's mother vanished. Realizing a continued fight would lead to defeat, Bolin attempted to escape to another dimension. This time, Anos wouldn't let him flee again. Regaining his composure, Anos was already behind Bolin before he knew it. Bolin desperately tried to create other dimensions, but such maneuvers were child's play for Anos now. Anos destroyed the dimensional doors Bolin created and summoned the Demon Sword of Destruction to sever Bolin's legs, preventing any further escape. Having played enough, Anos no longer wished to prolong the fight. He delivered a fatal stab to the forehead, successfully killing the origin of Avos implanted in Bolin. The minions of Avos, controlled by Bolin, vanished as Bolin regained his senses. It appeared that Bolin had been attacked and influenced by a stranger to harbor hatred against the Demon King Anos. Even the 2 great demons Anos had reincarnated earlier were completely controlled. Anos summoned and destroyed the origins implanted in them. At that moment, the mysterious Avos revealed himself inside the arena. With everything resolved, Anos broke the barrier surrounding the arena, allowing everyone to witness the current state of the battle. The sight that struck everyone was Ray lying motionless, unable to resist. There was no question about it. The championship undoubtedly belonged to Anos. Proudly, Anos held up his father's sword, declaring that it was thanks to this blade he had won. He expressed deep gratitude to his father, who, being an emotional man, quickly shed tears of pride for his exceptional son. Afterwards, Anos used his magic to revive Ray, and with the earlier healing done on Ray's mother by Milan, it was easier to bring her back. Thus, Ray and his mother were reunited, and he embraced her in overwhelming joy. The following day, the class had a new homeroom teacher. Miss Emily had requested a leave of absence, and from now on, Historia would be taking over as the class's homeroom teacher. Everyone was in the dark about why Emily had suddenly left, except for Anos, who knew it was because she was too shocked and unable to recover after finding out she was a mixed blood. The new homeroom teacher announced that there would soon be an exchange program with other academies, where the students would go to the superhero school in the human world for the exchange. It was the first time leading to the human world, and everyone was excited except for Anos, who seemed unfazed. To prepare for the exchange, Historia posed a question to everyone about differentiating between the human and the demon worlds. Having previously fought against the human world, Anos was very familiar with them. He began to analyze the differences between the two worlds, noting that in the human world, a hero is equivalent to a demon king. Instead of using time to fight, they would use armies. Unlike the demon world, which tends to be more defensive, humans always focus on attacking. Everything he pointed out was entirely accurate without any discrepancies. Later, he secretly met with Bolan, who informed him about the investigation results. Currently, there are still 3 ancient demons being controlled by Avos, and Bolan has yet to find the right time to eliminate the origin of Avos implanted in the remaining 3 ancient demons' bodies. Regarding the participation in the Academy exchange, Bolan reminded him to be more cautious because the hero school has a special class that only trains superheroes. In an era of peace without war, the fact that they are still running a superhero training class certainly suggests there might be a suspicious scheme behind it. After receiving the information from Bolan, Anos took Ray to his grand mansion. He allowed Ray to choose any sword for himself. After much consideration, Ray decided to take the most prominent sword named First Intent. According to Anos, every strike with this sword must be accompanied by the wielder's dedication. Otherwise, it will forever remain just a useless iron sword. When he saw Ray effortlessly cut through the object he had created, Anos was very satisfied. In his past life, only his right-hand man, a capable subordinate, was able to wield this sword. Seeing Ray reminded him of Shin from the past, the implication of reincarnation was too apparent as Ray did not avoid it. He always had the feeling that he had lived in a different world hundreds of years ago. However, when Ray asked him if he and that subordinate had ever promised to meet again after reincarnation, Anos was suddenly reminded of the hero Kenon. He began to feel uncertain, wondering who Ray might be reincarnated from among the 2 people he was thinking of. On the day of the inter-school activity, the teacher announced that everyone must independently make their way to the Hero Academy. It didn't matter how they got there, as long as they were present within 10 days, they would meet the requirements. Anyone absent knew the consequences and might as well return to the demon world quietly to avoid embarrassment. While Sasha was considering which route to take as it was closer, Anos wasn't one for taking the long way. With a second of demon magic, he teleported the group directly into the human realm. However, not being able to adventure like their peers was somewhat disappointing. Since they arrived 10 days early, they decided to explore the human world a bit. Milan had to go send messages and guide the girls from the unification party, so Misa followed him. Seeing Anos planning to stroll around the town, Sasha eagerly followed him. Walking through the bustling market, Sasha was fascinated by the peacefulness of the human world. While strolling, Anos turned on his charm mode and complimented Sasha's eyes, saying they were even more beautiful than his own. Even though his comment made her blush, she liked it very much. Later, the 2 arrived at the Superhero Academy. Just as Anos was about to enter on his own to look around, another girl called out to him. She introduced herself as Nanka, a 3rd-year student at the Superhero Academy. After learning that they were guests looking to learn about heroes, she casually agreed without any objections. Inside the library, there was a wealth of historical information about superheroes during wartime, including portraits of the hero Kenon, a man universally thanked by the people. When they reached the section about superheroes, Nanka introduced Sasha to a book documenting the history of how hero Kenon had killed the tyrannical demon king. Hearing this, Sasha was furious that the humans dared to distort historical truth. They blatantly stole the achievements of the tyrannical demon king, attributing them to hero Kenon, claiming he killed the demon king and then built 4 walls to save the world. However, as Sasha was about to demand justice for the demon king, Anos stopped her. He knew that if history hadn't been blatantly rewritten like that, the people of that era surely couldn't have been at peace. He asked Nanka if she knew the name of the tyrannical demon king. Upon hearing the answer, Anos was slightly surprised because the name had been altered to Avos even in the human world. He continued to inquire with Nanka about the superhero class of the academy. She candidly shared information about the class as well as the findings from Bolan's investigation. The class indeed was established to nurture superheroes for the human world, and notably, it included 4 reincarnated Kenons. Since Kenon had 7 origins, as long as one of them remained, he could be reincarnated again. If there were as many as 4 Kenons, it must be because parts of his origins had split and entered 4 different bodies. However, Anos was skeptical if Kenon truly had reincarnated. Why had he remained silent in the face of such historically inaccurate information without attempting to correct it? At that moment, two ordinary individuals claiming to be the second and third origins of the reincarnated Kanon approached. The third origin, upon hearing that Anos had come from the demon world, wanted to jump into a fight to show off his strength. However, with just a light flick of Anos's wrist, he sent him flying several meters away. Anos was profoundly disappointed by the supposed origin of Kanon, which turned out to be so feeble. The second origin, Ali, was not content but still bowed and apologized for his rudeness and asked for Anos's noble name. Anos did not hesitate to reveal his name, which was not recorded in any history books. Anos remained disappointed if these individuals truly were Kanon reincarnated. At that moment, Nanka advised him not to expect the reincarnated Kanon to be the same as before since he had previously been killed by humans themselves. After 10 consecutive days, the final students of the Demon King Academy have all arrived. During the magical exchange between the two academies, the Hero Academy sent Kanon's third origin, Levi. The Demon King Academy was represented by a pure-blooded third-year class president who took up the challenge. After Levi's performance, Annie attempted to use magic to transform a mouse into a monster. However, no matter how much she chanted, the mouse remained unchanged. This led Levi and his teacher to mock the capabilities of the Demon King Academy. During such critical moments, the presence of Anos was essential. Indeed, the petty traps set by the heroes were nothing new to him. Ending his silence, he shattered the invisible barrier surrounding the cage, and the tiny mouse immediately transformed into a fierce monster. To make the demonstration more interesting, he conjured a fake holy sword identical to the humans, drawing awe from the crowd. Despite the discrimination between purebloods and mixed bloods in the demon world, the teacher blatantly declared that he was indeed the tyrannical demon king before the purebloods. As expected, the purebloods refused to acknowledge this, prompting Anos to stand and vigorously argue, leading to a very noisy dispute. That night, Ivik came to report new information he had gathered. The news of Kanon's death at the hands of humans was not widely known. However, the possibility of Anos being reborn was widely circulated among humans. Importantly, Ivik discovered that there was a persistent intent to kill him again. After speaking with Ivik, Anos was invited by two sisters to go out and enjoy the festival since it was the birthday of the hero Rengar. Known to Anos since Rengar was Kanon's master in a previous life. By chance, they saw Ray and Milan also sneaking out together. Anos intended to greet them, but Sasha wouldn't allow it, questioning why he would intrude when the two were obviously on a date. The two followed discreetly and saw Ray gift Milan a split seashell necklace, which according to legend, is akin to a marriage proposal. Clearly, the two harbored feelings for each other. The next morning, there was an inter-academy competition where both schools were to engage in a battle using their respective military magic. The Hero Academy planned to use the Light Formation, while the Demon King Academy relied solely on Rare. Anos intended to lead the team, but Annie insisted that purebloods didn't need a mixed blood to speak up. Consequently, Anos stepped back, allowing Annie to lead the team into battle. As both sides began their formations underwater, Annie continued her usual defensive strategy. However, it soon became evident that the magic from the Demon King Academy was weakening, while the Hero Academy's magical power was increasingly strengthening. Through his demonic eye, Anos saw that holy water had been poured into the lakebed, enhancing the human's magical power and suppressing the demonic magic. Indeed, despite their efforts, Annie's team was unable to overcome the superheroes. In the final blow, a triangular formation created by the heroes drained the magical power of the demon's castle, causing it to collapse completely. With the demonic eye lent by Anos, Historia realized that there had been a plot to undermine the Demon King Academy all along. Seeing her students defeated, she wanted to dive down to rescue them. Anos stopped her and chanted a spell that safely lifted everyone to the shore. Anos began treating the wounded, as they had sustained severe injuries. Although Annie disliked Anos, she knew that only he could restore the Academy's honor. Aware that only Anos could reclaim the honor of the Demon King Academy, he prepared to create a gigantic fireball and hurled it into the lake containing the holy water. The fireball gradually absorbed all the water in the deep lake, equalizing the battlefield as if it were on dry land, making it a fair match between the two academies. The heroes immediately formed a barrier to counter Anos's fireball. Suddenly, a girl appeared at a dangerously high speed and shattered Anos' fireball into many pieces. Anos suddenly felt intrigued because he finally found a worthy opponent to take action against. To build a fortress for an attack inside their barrier, Misa needed at least 3 minutes. During that time, Anos was determined to protect her thoroughly, and once the fortress was completed, the others would follow. Using teleportation magic, both were instantly within their enemy's barrier. The girl who had appeared earlier also joined the gathering of heroes, and since she couldn't speak, Louis introduced her instead. She was identified as the fourth origin of Canon, known as Jessica, who also holds the title of the top rank at the academy. But that introduction was enough, and it was time to return to the battle. Seeing Missa begin to build the fortress, their opponents quickly attacked her. However, Anos did not let them succeed. Not only did he take all their attacks, but he also turned the tables and knocked the group back. Just as Missa finished building the fortress, everyone outside also arrived at the scene. In the first battle, Sasha countered an attack from a fierce opponent at the riverbank. Sasha, noticing the opponent was distracted, stole his magic seal button. But soon after, the opponent quickly reclaimed it and trapped Sasha in a magical formation he had created, rendering her immobile. He thought this time Sasha was surely doomed, yet suddenly, he spat blood, lost all his strength, and fell. It turned out that Sasha had intentionally stolen the button to poison it, and now that it took effect, it was time for her to counterattack. Instantly, she used her destructive magic eye to shatter the magical formation Leo had created. Now, all that was left was to deal with him, and at this point, he could do nothing but lie down and accept his fate under Sasha's hands. In another development, Ray was facing off directly with a white-haired young boy. Seeing the boy's arrogant and presumptuous words, Ray decided to take one of his arms. Without giving the boy a chance to react, Ray struck and seized the sacred sword the boy was proud of. Having heard the boy boast that being struck by his sword would leave a sacred mark, and no magic could heal it, Ray didn't hesitate to try the sword on the boy himself. Seeing the situation getting tense, the boy started to show signs of fear and begged Ray for mercy. Having spoken, Ray decisively struck down with a sacred marked sword as a gift to him on their first meeting. Meanwhile, Anos went over to awaken Levi, who had been pretending to be dead. Now exposed, Levi stood up, drew his sword, and declared that he would fight Anos in a fair battle. However, the fairness was disrupted when Jessica also rushed in to join the fray. To Anos, he was never intimidated by anyone. Even with both Levi and Jessica attacking at the same time, they posed no challenge to him. He even counterattacked, causing both to crash hard into a nearby rock face. Realizing that Anos was not an easy opponent, Levi activated a battle formation that allowed them to easily receive magical power shared by the gods people of the human realm. This greatly enhanced their magic, and now both were very confident in their strength. Jessica charged and shattered Anos' barrier, demonstrating the power of over 10 million human realm citizens. It seemed like Anos might lose this time, but no, Anos was not ordinary. If the two needed the strength of 10 million people, he only needed 8. Anos sent a message to the girls of the Unification Party to sing a soulful song for the team. With the power of the girls transmitted to him, Anos' magic surged dramatically. At this moment, the attacks from the two were as easy to break as eating candy. All their attacks were now being countered by him. Suddenly, Levi's attitude changed. He roared, determined to kill Anos. Not just him, but the girls of the Unification Party also started showing strange signs of wanting to attack him. Now, Jessica charged at Anos relentlessly without pause. Although her attacks could not harm him, she stubbornly kept attacking. At this moment, Nanka's voice suddenly rang out, urging Anos to come to the shrine, as only she could show him how to stop Jessica. However, Jessica was still furiously attacking, keeping Anos engaged. With no other option, he asked Missa to go there to scout for him. When Missa arrived, she found no sign of Nanka. Instead, the teacher was waiting there. As soon as he saw Missa, his hatred for the demons was immediately apparent. Without hesitation, he opened a door behind Missa, revealing holy light that severely injured her. Not stopping there, he stabbed Missa with a sword, and then continued to stab her repeatedly with extreme cruelty. As he was about to strike down with a sword to finish off Missa, Anos timely appeared and threw him far away. Anos created a barrier wall to protect Missa within it. Now it was Anos' turn to deal with this treacherous character. To punish him, Anos transformed him into a monstrous beast, a fate more painful as he was turned into the very type of demon he hated the most. At that moment, Dago, driven insane and completely irrational, wanted to use this demon body to destroy Anos. Outside, he sent secret messages to manipulate the students of the Hero Academy. He wanted them to fight as crazily as he did, at all costs to eliminate all those from the Demon King Academy. To prevent the worsening situation before it began, Anos had already placed a spell to freeze time. Now, even as Dago exerted all his strength to send his message, there was no one to hear his cries. But Anos didn't stop there. He extracted Dago's origin, and after tormenting him to the point of unbearable agony, Anos crushed his origin in his hand, leaving him no chance of revival. After treating Misei, Anos carried her into the room behind the door from earlier. Indeed, their Nanka was confined within a sphere, surrounded by countless other black spheres covering the area. Nanka woke up immediately after Anos appeared. Nanka pleaded desperately for him to get her out of there. She promised to reveal all the hidden truths that hadn't been disclosed yet. After being freed, Nanka revealed that 2,000 years ago, General Renger harbored a deep hatred towards demons. Even after the Demon King sacrificed himself to protect the world, Renger steadfastly maintained his hatred. To ensure future generations would not forget this hatred towards demons, he split magic into two parts. One was the Arc spell, designed to instill in all of humanity a hatred for demons. Upon discovering that his master was still determined to provoke a war to eradicate all demons, the hero Kanon tried desperately to stop him. Wasn't it true that they had always fought for the current peace? Yet, he was killed by his own teammates and master whom he trusted. Perhaps disillusioned with humanity, Kanon never reincarnated again. Desiring immortality and repeated reincarnations, Renger, now known as Dago, used magic to clone humans. As long as one of the cloned origins remained, they would continuously reincarnate. Therefore, Dago had not died completely earlier. He would soon reincarnate again. Nanka implored Anos to destroy her because she was the key to cloning individuals. Only when she died would the cloned entities no longer be able to resurrect. It is evident that for 2,000 years, Nanka has been struggling and is now exhausted. As Anos was about to help her find release, the hungry leech like Dago, having reincarnated, led his troops back. However, before he could confront Anos at the location of the sacred sword Avos, and the remaining 3 demon elders also appeared. Seeing Avos attempting to take the sacred sword, Dago smirked confidently, declaring that no demon could draw that sword, only the hero Kanon could. Yet, in the face of that confidence, Avos immediately drew the sacred sword. After defeating Dago, Avos went on to confront Anos. Facing the tyrant demon king himself, he brazenly continued to claim he was the tyrant demon king Avos. He then launched an attack with the sacred sword at Anos, but all were shattered by him. Avos's goal was to provoke another war. He needed darkness to completely engulf the world. The theft of the sacred sword officially sparked the conflict between the demon and human realms. Both sides quickly spread the news about the upcoming battle to their people. Thus, both sides were mobilizing their troops in preparation for this second major offensive. To prevent the loss of innocent lives, Anos intended to confront the armies of both the demon and human realms alone. However, his teammates, friends, and subordinates couldn't let him fight alone. They were always ready to stand shoulder to shoulder with him in battle at any moment. Before the day of the battle, he went to see Milan to retrieve half of a necklace, promising that he would definitely return safely after the war. On the day of the battle, everyone began to divide their forces according to the plan. Sisters Sasha and Miso were tasked with stopping the vanguard troops advancing towards the human realm. Milan, along with Rei, were on the front lines to defeat the troops coming from the forest side. The 7 demon elders were tasked with dealing with the 3 traitorous demon elders, leaving Avos for Anos to handle. He went straight to the castle with the intent of dragging Avos out, but it seemed he wasn't inside. On the other side, everyone, after completing their missions, successively sent messages to Anos to reassure him during his fight. Only Milan's area was a bit problematic because after annihilating the army at the edge of the forest, she suddenly vanished after an explosion earlier. Guessing Avos' movements, Anos quickly created barrier walls in advance, preventing him from moving out of the demon realm. When he arrived, indeed, Avos was surrounded by his barriers. The two quickly plunged into a furious battle at lightning speed, neither yielding to the other. In a close combat move, Anos reached out and snatched the necklace from Avos' neck. Correct, it was the matching necklace to the one Milan had the night Rei took it. Surprisingly, Rei turned out to be Avos, and even more astonishing, he was also the hero Kanon. 2,000 years ago, the followers of Renger not only killed Kanon, but also planned to eliminate Anos 2,000 years later. It was a complete mistake for humanity to want to kill a great being like Anos. To correct this mistake for humanity, Rei had to intervene in the reincarnation process of Anos. That is also the reason why everyone always thought the tyrant demon king was named Avos. Rengar had sown in humanity an absolute hatred towards demons, and only when Anos died would the curse of the people's hatred towards demons be broken. As a hero, Rei knew he had to take on the responsibility of correcting humanity's mistake. Rei chose to reincarnate in the demon realm and instigate a war between the two sides with the intention of dying in place of Anos. By doing so, not only would the curse in the people's hearts be removed, but Anos would also not need to sacrifice himself. This world needs a demon king like him to maintain peace. However, as a friend through 2 lifetimes, Anos would not allow Rei to die in his place. Thus, the two engaged in battle with the sole purpose of protecting each other and maintaining world peace. During an attack from Kenon, Rei leaped into the air, avoiding the strike, while also using magic to break one of Rei's origins. With a series of more powerful attacks, Anos subsequently killed 5 more of Rei's origins. By the time only 1 origin was left, exhausted, Rei fell from the sky to the ground. Yet, unwilling to be defeated, he knew he could lose as many times as necessary. But this time he had to win. He needed to save the world, for if he missed this opportunity, there would be no other. With a roar, Rei summoned another sacred sword, his determination reaching its peak, and with the speed of light, he shattered Anos's techniques. He then charged straight towards the fireball Anos had created, delivering a direct slashing force. However, at that crucial moment, Anos did not resist. He let Rei's sword strike directly at his origin. The barrier walls surrounding them slowly lowered, and Anos changed clothes with Rei, then took Avos's mask and wore it. In this way, the scene of hero Kenon killing the tyrant demon king played out once again before everyone's eyes. From the beginning, Anos had intended for Rei to kill him in front of everyone, thus preventing the war, breaking the curse of human hatred, and saving Rei from sacrifice. With 1 arrow, he hit 3 targets as Anos had planned. Before disappearing, he ordered the demon realm to quickly withdraw their troops back to their territory. Before the tyrant demon king returned, no one was to unilaterally dispatch troops to attack the human race. Like 2,000 years ago, Anos once again chose to sacrifice himself to protect the peace of the world. He would forever be the immortal hero in Rei's heart and the people of this world. One might think everything would end there, but no, the greedy Rengar, having killed Anos, immediately wanted to eradicate the entire demon realm. He immediately manifested as the gigantic Rengar, intending to use the power of one of Jessica's clones to initiate an explosion that would wipe out the entire demon realm. Faced with his mentor who had lost his humanity, Rei wanted to personally help him find release. However, his body was now protected by holy light, rendering Rei's sword strikes ineffective. Facing this situation, Ivik used a spell to quickly merge Misa and Sasha into a powerful demon entity to counter Rengar. Despite living for thousands of years, Rengar was not easily defeated. He could fiercely counter the chains of the 2 sisters. Below, Rei, Milan, and Nanko worked hard to eliminate the clones of Jessie. Despite this, with Rengar's power, he completely controlled the Jessicas, preparing to create a catastrophic explosion. The individual Jessicas merged with Rengar, and over 1,000 entities were no small number. The sisters' chains could no longer hold him. In the end, despite everyone's concerted effort to resist, the explosion was executed. A terrifying energy began to envelop the entire space. However, just when it seemed that all was lost and beyond salvation, unexpectedly, the anticipated explosion did not occur. Instead, Anos returned, more formidable than before. It turned out that Anos had used Rei's attack as a catalyst to regenerate his origin and return once more, a feat only the progenitor tyrant demon king could accomplish. Although Rengar was somewhat wary of Anos, he did not submit. Smugly, he believed this was an opportunity to kill him once again. Rengar immediately activated a spell array to force the people to surrender their power, causing their heads to feel like they were about to explode. But even if this caused their deaths, he would not stop, for his heart was now consumed by hatred. However, Rengar's sword strike was blocked by Rei. Unable to just stand by and watch the battle, Rei knew he had to contribute his strength to this world. Both charged at Rengar. Rei continuously slashed at the barrier surrounding him, while Anos used chains to restrain him, though it seemed to be ineffective. Instead, Anos, having just resurrected and whose magic had not yet fully recovered, was injured by Rengar. Recognizing this weakness in Anos, Rengar secretly rejoiced, confident that this time he would surely defeat him. Amid the heroic original melodies of the girls, Anos's magical power quickly escalated significantly. Rengar, caught off guard by this move, frantically turned and pointed his sword at the girls. At that moment, Nanka coordinated troops to protect the girls of the Unification Party. Having witnessed the battle from the beginning, they should know by now who the enemy was and who their allies were. With supporting troops below and Anos not wanting to prolong the conflict further, Anos used Rengar's own sword as a conductor to strike down a bolt of lightning, causing Rengar to be severely electrocuted. Seeing Rengar stubbornly refusing to turn back, Ray from above used the sacred sword to cut across Rengar, causing him to finally collapse. "It's time to end this," Anos said. "Take one last look at this world." With that, he summoned the Demon King's magic sword into his hand, and together with Ray, they delivered a critical strike with their combined swords to the center of Rengar's forehead. At that moment, Rengar could only roar once before being completely eradicated from the earth. Just before closing his eyes, Rengar seemed to see a vision of his wife and daughter waiting to accompany him. After all the hatred, he passed away peacefully, content with his ending. After the battle, peace returned as usual, and Misa and Sasha separated into two individuals again. Nanka no longer needed to sacrifice herself. When Ray and Milan saw each other, they embraced tightly in sweet happiness. After ensuring everyone was safe, Anos invited the sisters and now also Nanka to his home as usual. Like always, his parents welcomed them warmly. They shared a joyful and boundlessly happy meal together. Fortunately, after everything, everyone had their own fulfilling conclusion.